UX je bil seveda zdaj deležen tiste klasične prenove ob sredini življenjske dobe nekega avtomobila in kot vidite, novosti ni prav veliko, še vedno ostaja bolj ali manj takšen, kot je bil. Novost bomo seveda opazili in na strehi, kjer najdemo, da je avtomobil na voljo zdaj v kombinaciji dveh barvnih odtenkov. In seveda novost bomo našli tudi v kabini, kjer imamo bistveno večji zaslon na dotik. Predvsem pa bomo novost slišali. Če bomo rekli, hej Lexus!
What would you like to do?
No, v 3 letih je Lexus UX nabral dobrih 70,000 svojih kupcev in ta majhna številka seveda pomeni, da UX v Lexusovi paleti zavzema zelo majhen delež. Seveda, ker nastopa v dosegljivem avtomobilskem razredu. In seveda za ta avtomobilski razred velja, da pač preprosto ne moreš vgraditi dragih premijskih materialov za to, da bi seveda avto naredil bolj žlahtnega. Moraš se nekako znajti na drugačen način in tu se nekako kaže Lexusova ekspertiza, ki se seveda nanaša na znanje takumijev. In to je povsem enako kot tisti včerajšnji pistacijev sladoled, ki je na prvi pogled deloval povsem enako kot vsak običajen pistacijev sladoled, ampak potem se je v ustih razcvetel kot prava kulinarična mojstrovina. In to je prav tisto, kar Lexus dejansko najbolj obvlada. Klasične elemente nam ponudi izpopolnjene do perfektnosti. In nasploh lahko rečemo, da je za Lexusove predstavitve avtomobilov značilno, da svoje avtomobile podkrepi s primeri perfektnosti v klasičnem vsakdanjem življenju, tudi na drugih področjih. Smo v Nemčiji, v Berlinu in predlagam, da spoznamo tukajšnje nepričakovane berlinske takumije. Začnimo z najbolj trendovsko berlinsko pekarno.
Some people say it's the apple of breads, basically. When I go in a normal bakery, I'm standing in front of a counter of 50 different types of bread. I feel stressed because I don't know what to choose. There might be a line behind me. So one of the things we did, we wanted to reduce the offer we have. We basically have 5 different kinds of breads and a couple of baguettes. We almost go in a scientific direction when it comes to the production as well.
Every 4 to 6 hours, we just take the sourdough and we just feed it with new flour. Because if you miss a feeding schedule, then it has an immediate effect on the quality of the sourdough. Sometimes you just cannot correct it anymore. If the sourdough is too acidic, so it's too old, then all the acidity that you have in the sourdough is going into the bread. And then the bread becomes like very, very flat and the taste is very acidic too. And also I think what you see here is it's a nice fermentation. So you see these kind of bubbles and holes and it's a very open crumb. And if it's not also maintained properly from a fermentation perspective, then it gets very dense.
Nekdanja marketingerja sta se posla lotila pred 4 leti.
The main problem was finding the right ingredients. We only work with local ingredients. Everything you have in the bread is sourced within 100 kilometers around Berlin. We have a pre-pushed bread that needs to have a lot of strength and fluffiness just through the right amount of fermentation. And in order to achieve that, the wheat needs to have a high level of protein. So the farmers, they were not used to basically providing the grains that are needed for our breads. So we had to work with the farmers, but the life cycles of creating new grains is very long because you just harvest twice a year. So you needed to go, you needed to do trial fields, we needed to see if this is working with our bread, and it took us probably two years to really get the grains right.
UX je sicer najmanjši Lexus, ampak zdaj vam pokažemo majhnost v neki povsem drugačni dimenziji. Poglejmo miniature.
These are all winter growers. That means they are used to get no water during the hottest time of the year. So these are all plants that just stop growing if you don't water them. If you got enough light, that's the point. But as you see, these are like here since 4 years just under artificial light. That one is in the pot for 5 years now. It was maybe like this branch when I started.
Naš sogovornik pa kljub botanični ekspertizi vendarle ni samo navaden Filip Vrtnar, je umetnik.
My idea was a little bit to combine this Japanese bonsai style with model building German thing, you know, like a model train. So I was looking for a tree that fits to the scale, you know. At the beginning I just used them as a scale for photos, because on a photo you can see how small they are.
Kombinacija žive narave s figurami iz epoksija, betona, zmletih kokosov in plastike za 3D printerje je v tem malem berlinskem ateljeju rodila številne miniaturne zgodbe.
What I really like is to create a situation where the one who looks at it can interpret the story a little bit. So often it's just like weird situations between things that actually don't match together. For example, there's a man underwater and a girl sitting on it. And some say, oh, is she killing him? Some say, oh, she's saving him. Some say they have sex.
In seveda vas že cel video nerviran s to čudovito lokacijo, s to berlinsko Metelkovo. Seveda gre za Teufelsberg, eno največjih svetovnih street art galerij, kjer je seveda prostor tudi za tako velike umetnine.
I'm your guide for today and I will tell you everything I'm allowed to tell you.
A celo med odobrenimi zgodbami so bile takšne, ki jih je lahko povedal samo off the record, torej brez prižgane kamere. In seveda se vam zdaj že svita, da skrivnostne zgodbe ameriškega vojnega veterana nimajo prav veliko veze z likovno umetnostjo.
In 1937, the Nazis began to build a whole university city. He was going to concentrate all the universities in one area in a grand area. The building was never finished, the war came. The ruins of this building are about 170 meters somewhere down there. Because at the end of World War II, that was Berlin. This is not Mariupol, this is not Kiev, this is Berlin. They had to clear the streets. They had to find a place for all this rubble. So for 22 years, hundreds of trucks came out every day, brought rubble out of the city and piled it up here. You're standing on Old Berlin, the entire mountain.
Umetno zgrajen hrib mora imeti anteno gor, kaj ne? No, pomaknimo se torej v čas razdeljenega Berlina. Antene na Teufelsbergu so namreč uporabljali Američani.
In East Germany, there were almost 500,000 Warsaw-pact troops, Soviets and East Germans. They all used radios, and we could listen to radios. So getting information about these troops in this way, this was the most important collection point on the planet. The Soviets did the same thing. From the Rok in Saxony-Anhalt, they listened in and we listened in. And maybe that was a good thing, because it's very difficult to plan and execute an aggressive war if the other side can hear what you're doing. So I often think of my 2 years here as perhaps a peacekeeping measure. It may have helped to keep the peace, who knows. I'd like to invite you to my office. Unfortunately, we have no running water on the Teufelsberg, so there's no free coffee, sorry. Come along.
Mize z magnetofonom gospoda Maklarna danes ni več, so pa tudi danes na stenah lepotice.
I'm not a great fan of her pose, or really of her message for that matter, but her eyes are beautiful. If we ever have something new that I really like, I always take a picture immediately, because I have no idea how long it's going to stay. She's going to stay with us. You're not allowed to overpaint her, but understandably.
Koliko časa slike ostanejo na stenah je sicer odvisno od umetniškega vodje, ki pa je seveda tudi sam ulični slikar.
Message at the bottom is nice. I would kiss you if I could. But in any case, but she's a real veteran. She's been here for about 8 years. She's an old friend. I would suggest go right on up, touch it if you wish. Take a look at how they've done this. You can't do this in the Louvre, but you can do it on the Teufelsberg. You were only allowed to go to your place of work and out again. And recently I met an American, a woman, who worked here about the same time. And we never had anything to do with each other. I was at my end, she was at my end.
Verjetno se je gospod Maklaran tudi zaradi tega družil bolj z Nemkami. Enega je na to celo zadržala v Berlinu. Ampak stopimo še na eno območje, kamor v času svojega vrhunskega službovanja ni smel vstopiti.
Why is this called Teufelsberg? The thing is, there is a lake down here, the Teufelsee, which has been there since the Ice Age. So when they piled all this stuff up here and made a mountain, it just seemed logical to simply call it the Teufelsberg. But as far as I know, there were no devils here.
Današnja zgodba je direktno nadaljevanje pomladanske zgodbe, ko smo z Lexusom NX spoznali nekaj primerov odličnosti v belgijskem Antwerpnu. Če te zgodbe še niste pogledali, vas zdaj vabimo, da obujete škorne po vaši meri in da se okitite z diamanti. Z vašim naslednjim klikom.